I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 7th, brought to you in part by VITALIX lick tubs. They have a lick tub to meet your every need. They increase feed efficiency, average daily gain and weaning weight, improve conception rates, overall herd health, and decrease feed costs. VITALIX wants Feeder Flash gang members to have a chance to win free tubs. If you're watching this on the NationalBeefWire, click the ad right next to this video to get more information on how to do that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go down into the descriptions and click on VITALIX there to get instructions on how to register to win free tubs from VITALIX. Get the blue tub. Your cows will love you. For more information, go to vitalix.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, had about 500 cows on Monday. Going to have another big feeder cattle and calf sale here on Tuesday, expecting 5,000 head. They'll have 1,800 or 1,900 calves, most of them weighing in the 4s and up to 6 weights. They've got 250 calves that are 60 days weaned, coming off of 4 deals. So we don't see very many long-time weaned calves right now, guys, but they've got 250 head off just 4 deals there. If you're interested in those, got a lot of 50 to 100 head ranch calves there that'll be fancy. About 70% of them will have had at least 1 round of shots, guys. Get in on those. They've got about 1,000 head of yearling feeder heifers, most of them weighing 600 to 800 pounds. They've got 240 head of 600 to 800 pound yearling heifers that are in a grazing condition, be fairly thin, coming in off grass and can go back out to grass or wheat if that's something you'd like to do. They're coming out of Alva area there. There's 450 more yearling heifers coming from Todd Poling over by Clayton, New Mexico. They'll be weighing 700 to 800 pounds. They're coming in off the grass too. Be good feeding heifers there. They've got about 2,200 head of yearling steers. Most of them will be weighing 700 to 900 pounds. There'll be a few weighing up closer to the 10 weights, and there'll be a few smaller packages of grazing yearling steers. But be a pretty good deal there. Got 140 head of grass steers coming in from Watonga there. They'll weigh 800 to 900 pounds. The Ratcliffe outfit, of course, they've got the fanciest big steers you'll find anywhere. They've got another 460 head of big 9-weight steers coming in off grass from the Ratcliffes. Be top quality, guys. Check out that sale at DVAuction.com here today on Tuesday. Fancy calf time, and you know, a lot of the farmer feeders especially, and a lot of the backgrounders too anymore. A lot of backgrounders in the southern plains and Kansas and even Texas Panhandle like to get those fancy top quality calves out of the northern plains, out of Nebraska, South Dakota, places like that, and bring them down and put them on wheat, guys. But gosh, they're expensive. But if you've been waiting on them, they're here. A lot of the big sales up there and in western South Dakota, even into Montana, up into North Dakota, all over Nebraska there. They are bringing in their fancy calves. I mean, for the next 2 months, they'll have droves of them. Big strings of fancy 1-iron ranch raised calves. You can put a lot of calves together there with a single source or limited sources if you're not wanting to mix up those calves that much before you get them in and try to get them straightened out. Now, they're not going to be weaned, but they will have had fall shots and spring shots, so they should be all right, and the quality will be outstanding. Use that Farapiece on them. I was talking to Mark Archibald there at Valley Grande Ranch Feeders there, and he said he had weaned a couple of sets of calves there and used Farapiece on them. getting along really good with it. Everybody I talk to that uses it is getting a lot of advantage out of it, but you definitely need to use it if you're going to be weaning calves. But you know, a lot of the ranches that sold on the summertime video sales, I mean, they were just out of sight, and they were so happy and tickled to death with how their calves sold. They're going to be delivering those calves here over the next couple of months, and then maybe some into January there too. But now the market's even better than it was then. So they're kind of looking there and they're thinking, gosh dang, I wish I hadn't sold them. But more often than not, you get along better selling them and taking that big price when you can get it. But these calves are bringing a lot of money in your big cattle auctions, your big regional sales there, guys. But you got to have those bigger strings of really top quality calves with genetics to bring that big money. We're seeing a bigger fall off on the plainer calves than we've ever seen. I think people are learning what those cattle with genetics can do, and the weight gain is so important at these big prices. If you're going to make these cattle work on these big prices, they have to put on a hell of a lot of weight in a short period of time. And those cattle with genetics will absolutely do it, especially you put them out on fall forage there, and they can put it on pretty cheap. I mean, when these pounds are worth, you know, $3 and something, and it's costing less than $1 to put it on, you can make up a lot of ground really fast. But they're not one to give the big price for the plainer calves. But the board was surprisingly strong on Monday to open the week. It's just it doesn't do that very often. You know, it kind of spittered and sputtered there for just a little bit, and then when it took off, I mean, all of your feeder cattle contracts, every one of them that trades was up over $5 on Monday, and your live cattle contracts, all except the spot month, was up you know, way over $2. So it was a big day for your futures, and everything looked good, and your auctions were higher, and this looks like a good week. Who knows, that it might be all down on Tuesday here, but it sure started the week out good on Monday. I don't know if you guys noticed, they found another case of screwworm dangerously close to the U.S. border there down in Mexico. I tell you what, those guys that are involved in the industry and some of those trade groups down there, they can keep saying that they think that border's going to open, but until they get a handle on that, or until we get the facilities built and start putting out those sterile flies and they start working, I don't see them opening that border anytime soon, guys. Let's talk about your board on Monday to start the week out. October live cattle futures were up 85 cents at 231.87. December was up 217 at 236.67. Your back months all up big on live cattle, up 220 to up 302. October feeder cattle up 522 at 362.40. It's just right in there in between the real-time index and your CME cash feeder cattle index, though. I guess it felt like it had to do that because these calves are selling so good in the sales. November feeder cattle up 537 at 360.80, and all your back months on feeder cattle up huge, but in a fairly narrow range, up 545 to up 565. December new crop corn futures up 2 3/4 cents a bushel at 421 3/4. November new crop beans down 1/4 cent a bushel at 1017 3/4, and hard red winter wheat for December down 1.5 cents a bushel at 495 1/2. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 4-area feeding region there totaled up 41,900 head. That compared to 47,200 the previous week and 47,000 smooth the same week a year ago. Your fat steers and heifers negotiated there bring from 227 to 233. That was $3 to $4 lower. Your weighted average for live steers for last week was $230.76. That was down $1.89 compared to the previous week's weighted average. Your dress sales ranged from $353 to $360. That was $5 to $7 lower. Dress steer weighted average was $359.64, down $5.33. That was a tough. As a whole, your Southern Plains market was $3 to mostly $4 lower, from $232 to $233. Your Northern Plains market was $2 to $5 lower at mostly $230. Dress sales mostly $5 lower at $360. Nationwide, we sold 53,450 head of cattle last week, fed cattle, compared to 56,600 the week before and 59,350 the same week a year ago. Of that 53,450 head that sold negotiated last week, about 20% of them, or 10,800, sold for that 15 to 30 day delivery period there. And that was not very many. Negotiated grid sales were down big last week. They didn't have near as many of those as we normally see, 26,600 head. Forward contracts were light at 15,400, and formula sales were pretty big considering we don't have that many cattle that are market ready as a whole. 246,400 formula sales last week. Of your four areas that we get information from last week, Iowa sold negotiated sales of 15,650. Nebraska sold 17,200. Kansas sold 6,450 head. And Texas just 2,700 head negotiated cash. Box beef cutout values started the week higher. Who'd have thought that? Maybe it's time for that seasonal rally in your box beef cutouts there. Choice cuts were up $1.07 on Monday afternoon at $363.34. Selects were up $2.59 at $347.97. Your slaughter just for the first day of the week on Monday, they're extremely light this Monday at 101,000 head. That was 12,000 less than last Monday and 9,000 less than the same Monday a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Virginia Cattlemen's Association, I tell you what, they're a stand-up outfit. They promote Virginia cattle and they support Virginia cattlemen, and they've been doing that since 1944. I think a lot of our other cattlemen's associations could take a clue from them and support the cattlemen that pay their way there and support them. But since 1944, they've been doing a good job. They aid their local producers in marketing, help them out with the issues that are coming along. Brandon Reeves kind of heads up that outfit. He does a great job. Butch Foster is their feeder cattle marketing guy. They support several sales around there with a Virginia Quality Assurance, do a really good job of that. They encourage you to go on and get the VA Cattle app. Go onto your app store, wherever you get your apps, and download the VA Cattle app there. It's free. And for more information, go to vacattlemen.org. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, late in the day on Monday after your sales had all closed, was sitting at 361.51. That was up 21 cents compared to the end of last week. Your latest CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index just now got the jolt from the big Friday sales there, and it's sitting at 363.47. Big sales that happened on Monday. Of course, the city, Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, they had 5,500 head. Feeder steers were mostly steady. Feeder heifers steady to $4 higher. Some stocker heifers weighing 600 to 700 pounds were $1 to $4 lower. Steer calves $10 to $20 higher, and heifer calves were mostly steady. Big sale at Joplin Regional Stockyards, 5,500 head there. Market reporter struggles. I tell you what, they get so many classes of cattle at Joplin Regional Stockyards. I mean, they get hard weaned cattle with a lot of condition. They get fat balling calves in there of every color of the rainbow. Some of them haven't had any shots. Some of them haven't even been worked. They're coming in as bulls. They just get every kind of cattle there is. They get hard yearlings. They get cattle that's been sitting around way too long. Just kind of old cattle that people seem to have forgot about, and they all of a sudden bring them in. They just get every single class of cattle in Joplin, and those buyers in there, they sort through them. Cattle bring what they're worth, but the market reporter struggles to find a market there. He called steers steady to $15 higher, but actually Jackie Moore on his YouTube video said they could have been that way, and I've seen some that were $15 higher. The 5-weight steers were 10 to 25 higher, similar to Oklahoma City, but the 4-weight steer calves were $5 to $15 lower, so must have been missing an order on them. Heifers were very uneven too, from 8 lower to 8 higher, and it was just a condition sale in the middle of October, and that's the way it goes at JRS there. But with a good test of every single weight, Joplin Regional Stockyards was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard Livestock Equipment. They're right next door to Joplin Regional Stockyards. Stick out sale of the day. You check out this automated market report through Cattle Market Central and look at your best tested weights, which was pretty much all of them. 299 head of 4-weight steers, average 457 with a weighted average price of 426.69. 350 head of the 5-weight steers, average 550 pounds, weighted average there at 415.32. Some of them wouldn't have been the most attractive. This is all of them together, guys. 483 head of the 6-weight steers, average 666 at 386.40. 566 head of 7-weight steers, average 761 at 382.70. There were 895 head of 8-weight feeder steers at Joplin Regional Stockyards. They averaged 840 pounds with a weighted average price of 352.68. 502 head of the 9-weight steers, averaged 933 at 342.29. Look at your heifers. 300 head of 4-weight heifers, average 447 at 384.48. 227 head of the 5-weight heifers, average 539 at 357.65. 293 head of 6-weight heifers, average 648 at 357.46. And 484 head of the 7-weight heifers, average 763 with a weighted average of 336.83. And 369 head of 8-weight feeder steers, Carthage, Missouri, Joplin Regional Stockyards, averaged 861 at 325.61. And if you noticed on that automated market report, all your weighted averages out there, most of them were higher than last week. So your gainers outweighed your losers, even though the market was kind of uneven there. The most impressive quote that I saw come out of Joplin was a big one. 223 head of 769 pound steers bring 403. They would have been some kind of short yearling cattle there with some condition, guys. I'm going to give you several individual quotes from all around. How about Aberdeen livestock sales in Aberdeen, South Dakota? Kevin Larson up there. They sold big cattle really well. They sell a lot of big cattle up there. They sold 65 head of steers that weighed 1,026 pounds at 340, and he had several loads of 1,100 pound steers selling at 333. So dollar those up, guys. They were selling really well. How about a market we don't talk about very often? You wouldn't think it'd have big quotes, but Cleveland County Livestock Auction in Heber Springs, Arkansas, guys. Now you think, oh, I'm going to go down there and get some kind of really cheap. Well, they sold some mixed steers, 59 head of them, weighing 705 there in Heber Springs, Arkansas, bring 385. That's nothing to sneeze at for them. How about Bowman Livestock Marketing in Bowman, North Dakota? Sells 61 steers, weigh 845 at 369. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, and your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of that big fancy calf special they had at Faith, South Dakota. They had several quotes in there I could have used. I decided on this one. It was 117 steer calves, weighed 455, bring 571. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.